All right, so we're reacting to a video called "I've Changed My Mind on This Debate." It's pretty much Jimmy High Roller going through 5 hot takes, which is, I know that because I saw a portion of it, and I'm excited to see it. I'm obviously gonna let him give his opinion. I'm gonna, share my own thoughts, but I'm curious to see what he's changed his mind about, because I feel like the more you research you do, the more studying you do, the more you change your mind about things. And then obviously, I'm actually just curious. Let's just watch it. But before I do, actually, make sure you like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I want to hit 500 subs probably this month. My birthday's coming up soon, so that would be a great birthday gift. I'm 7 away. Just click subscribe, please. My goodness.
I've had
Anyways,
over the
let's
years
just watch
about
it.
players, teams, eras,
Yeah.
opinions that I know are probably subjective and completely false.
Most opinions
but
are subjective.
I usually try to stay as objective and non-biased as I can. Do my research, refer to film,
I disagree.
gather consensus when necessary. But
I
in this
disagree about
video,
Jimmy
I'm
High
doing
Roller.
none of that. And instead, sharing with y'all 5 of my NBA hot takes. All right, so my first hot take is kind of hard to admit. I almost don't even want to say it out loud, but I'm going to. Tim Duncan has become overrated. Now, before you bring
That's
up
a
the
hot
torches,
take right
hear
there.
me out. When Tim Duncan was
I have him
there were
7
maybe
or
a
6
few
all time. I
seasons
think
throughout
6.
his 19-year career where he was considered the best player in the world. No one ever thought he was better than Shaq in his prime. Many fans at the time argued that KG had a higher peak than him, although I would disagree with this. And
I would
in the
disagree
moment,
too.
for a good decade or so, you would be in the minority if you thought Tim Duncan was a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant. By the
Okay, I agree with what he's saying. I just feel like a lot of that has to do more with fans' perspective being biased towards offense or flashiness or, skill set. Like KG is very, he was flashy. I disagree with the KG one. I think Tim peaked better. I think he was better at his peak. I think he had a better run, a better prime, better run, better everything. But Shaq at his peak was better, right? But Shaq didn't, I don't think he has the same longevity as Tim Duncan. But I think it has to do more with just, people liking offense more. Like, same thing with Kobe and Tim. Like, that debate is really more about offense versus defense.
The time Duncan retired, he was very underrated. Most fans had him somewhere around 15th.
15 is low.
Just outside
My
the top
goodness.
10 greatest players of all time. But miraculously, over the past 5 years or so,
Hakeem at
Timmy
10
has
is low.
creeped from 15th to 13th to
Wilt
top
at 9 is
10
insanely
to where
low.
he
Same with
probably
Bill.
should be somewhere around 7 to now
Magic
all
at
the
5
way
is
within
insanely
people's
high.
Top 5,
Kareem 4 is
even
proper.
top 3 players
LeBron and Jordan top
ever.
5.
And this isn't
proper.
just a small community of Tim Duncan advocates pushing this propaganda. I'm seeing Duncan floating anywhere from top 5 to top 3 all time for a lot of fans these days. Even people claiming he may just be the greatest basketball player of all time.
I wonder why. I have an opinion. I'm going to see what he says. I sneezed and I had to go get some tissue. But that being said, let's just continue watching. Before I give you my opinion onto this, I want to see what he says, because I think he might say what I think as well.
Guys, Tim Duncan was incredible. The best power forward of all time. He is not one of the 5 greatest players ever, let alone the GOAT. And I think what's probably happening here is younger or maybe newer fans of the NBA are looking at his accolades and accomplishments and comparing them side by side to other greats. And
I agree,
saying,
actually.
Wow, this
That's
guy
a good
really
point.
did a lot, and his resume is better
That's probably
than just
why,
about
yeah.
anyone ever. But if you watch Duncan's
But I think it has to do
career
more
unfold
with
in real time,
I think it has to do more with the GOAT debate, where it's just constant, like, garbage talk where, 6 rings or whatever. And I think people are overrating team accomplishments so much that they forget about the individual, which I want to see where he goes with it, because I also have an opinion about it that's kind of like, I would say, like, just to simplify it, Tim Duncan is overrated and underrated for different reasons. The same way Bill Russell is in my eyes. And if you've seen my video about Bill Russell, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to let him explain, though, because I think he might say something very important.
you would have felt the impact he had on the league and on the Spurs, but you would have also felt the massive role that the Spurs system and Popovich's coaching excellence played on Duncan. He was unbelievably consistent. He was a defensive juggernaut. He was a leader. But Duncan was also the beneficiary of the most competent organization in the league that prioritized team ball and continuity. From Hall of Fame teammates
he was the perfect player for
the majority of his career to all-time greats that played big roles in helping the Spurs win championships, Duncan was always surrounded by winning culture and winning teammates. This is by no means a knock on him. In fact, he was a big reason why the Spurs were so cohesive. But only in retrospect would you look at his laundry list of accomplishments and neglect all of the details that came with it. For many years, the Spurs as a team and organization were seen as this staple of excellence more than Tim Duncan was as an individual.
That's because the media did not promote him.
Spurs. It was just the Spurs. They were one in the
Wait, I just want to, I think it's more because the media did not promote him. It's not like LeBron or Jordan where that's all they ever talk about.
the same.
I think that's
Not
the main
this
reason.
pretty good team with a fantastically great player on it. But if you just look at his resume, you wouldn't know that. You could argue Duncan had maybe a top 3 career in NBA history, but as a player, he's just not on the same tier as Jordan or LeBron or Kareem.
I agree.
don't know how
I agree with
after
that.
he retired, he has slowly crept past Shaq and Bird and Russell and even Magic for some people. Duncan is one of my all-time favorite players, but he is not a top 5 player in
All right, most of these lists from 2024 have Duncan at 4 or 5. That's not too bad, to be honest with you. I disagree. I think he's, 6 or 7.
in NBA history. And it's odd to see a player who was so underrated for so many years become slightly overrated today. Now, I'd like to think of myself as sort of a
Okay, I think he's switching topics, but in terms of Tim Duncan's overrated, and I think I said this earlier, I said, in my opinion, both Tim Duncan's both overrated and underrated. What I mean by that is, as an individual player, he's underrated because people forget that how good of a player he was, or how many abilities he had that could impact the game. Like, we underrate defense and rebounding, which is already going to underrate any player that was great at that, which pretty much includes all the bigs in the top 10. And we overrate offense, right, which underrates players that weren't great offensively or phenomenal offensively. So I think that's why he's underrated in that sense.
board member
That would be
and
why.
executive within the organization of LeBron fans and Glazers. So this next take pains
LeBron
me to
fans
say,
and Glazers,
but
okay.
LeBron has sabotaged many good situations throughout his time in the NBA, and his career as a whole has suffered because of it.
I have to
We all
agree
know
with that,
LeBron has
actually.
been held back by some bad front offices,
Yeah.
selfish teammates, terrible roster construction.
All right, listen, I agree with this, but we got to give some credit. I'm
But
gonna let him finish
doesn't
because I
get
feel like
talked
he's gonna
about
say
enough
it.
is how he has gone out of his way to try to make good situations better and has inadvertently ended up just ruining things for
That's
himself
true.
in the process.
That is true.
Like in 2014 when he decided to sign with the Cavs instead of staying with the Heat. Why did he do that? Well, we all know why. The Heat were getting old, Wade was past his prime, and the Cavaliers had the cap space and a budding young star in Kyrie Irving to help
That's true.
reel Braun back to Cleveland. This decision eventually led to a championship, but what if he just stayed with the Heat? With Pat Riley and Spoelstra, where there's culture and accountability. I imagine
That's
his
true,
career
man.
would have played out even better.
I can't
considering where the
disagree
Heat
with this
are
case.
today. Or what about when the Cavs
Man.
went to back-to-back finals in 2016?
I will say, like, a lot of it, it's like, if Kevin Durant doesn't join the Warriors, then that decision that of him joining the Cavs makes it seem so much better because I feel like he might have won one of those 2 years.
And 2017, but since LeBron didn't feel they had enough to win it all, he orchestrated an entire implosion of their roster, which ended up being vastly worse, and then just left them again once things were beyond repair. Or most recently, when
Well,
the
Kyrie
Lakers won
wanted
a
to get
championship
traded, I
in
think.
2020, and instead of reloading with the same roster, the Lakers returned with a whole new team
Yep.
just 2 seasons later. These
Yep.
decisions do not
Man, that sucks, bro. I remember that.
happen without LeBron's okay. Throughout his career, he has been so quick to want more, want something better,
30
and he
players?
can't wait
Wow.
around for it to happen organically, so he tries to force these things to happen.
Which
And
I
when
guess
it doesn't work out,
makes sense why he wouldn't want to
hasn't worked
wait.
out a lot. The organization,
Like,
the coaching staff,
you only have
even
limited
his
amount
own
of time
teammates
in your
end up
prime
taking
before
the
you get too
fall.
old.
As
See
great
what I
as
mean?
he is,
So-
LeBron has tried to play GM way too often in his career, and
Yeah,
when he
GM.
can't or he's out of
Well, to
options,
be
he
fair-
just moves on to the next new shiny thing. If he just stayed with the Heat or stayed with the Cavs, or
He wouldn't
allowed
have as many
rosters to
rings,
build
maybe.
chemistry
We don't
and
know.
young players to develop naturally over time, I think his career and the perception of it would probably be better right now. LeBron has willed his
Maybe.
way to some of the greatest feats the sport has ever seen, but he has also sabotaged a lot of good things along the way. Now, here's a hot take for you.
Maybe. I don't know, man. I can't be too critical of LeBron in that sense because I think LeBron was chasing greatness. And so a lot of his decisions had to do with that, where it's like, hey, I'm getting old. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to play. Now, obviously, we know he's in year 21 or 22, whatever year he's in. I guess I'm just
And I don't
rambling
care
on
if
right
I'm
now.
wrong. The corner 3 is not the easiest three-point shot. For years,
that's a hot
everyone has
take right
said
there.
The corner 3 is easier than any three-pointer, and so there's an advantage to be had there if you use them right.
Well, I think the percentage goes up just a little.
wholeheartedly disagree. In the NBA, sure,
Let's see.
the corner three is shorter than on the wing or at the top of the key, but if you play ball, you know this shot is as scuffed as it gets.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the hoop straight on, you just have a wider margin of error. You can shoot long and bank it in. You have a better perception of depth since you're looking at the backboard.
That's true.
It may just be psychological, but whatever it is, you cannot convince me that this shot is easier than this shot. According to NBA.com, this season,
I'm be honest right there, man. Whew. Above the break, I disagree, but that right wing right here, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. That's the easiest shot. My goodness, I love
in the
that
league
spot.
as a whole is shooting 39% from corner three.
That crazy. The difference between restricted area to in the paint being 21 or 22% is insane. Like, wow.
Whereas above the break, teams are shooting 36.1% on average. Now, that's a substantial difference in efficiency from these two different shooting zones, and it would lead you to believe the corner three is easier. But I think shooting percentage is higher on corner threes than threes above the break for two reasons.
Whoa. I feel like that, you know what? Him saying that made me think about it, and it actually makes sense. I think I know what he's going to say.
The best
I would just say, I feel like there's a lot of deep shots taken at the above the break where people take very deep long range threes, which drops the percentage completely. So if everybody just took threes as close to the line as possible, the percentage would go up to like 39 as well.
shooters in the league, the guys who are on NBA rosters to drill a few threes a game, usually spend the most time in the corner. And since most players who set up shop in the corner are sharpshooters, the overall efficiency from corner threes is boosted compared to on the wing or at the top of the key. And reason number two, a lot of threes taken above the break are pulled up off of dribbles, players flying off of screens trying to
true. That is
get a
true.
good shot off. And many times the players attempting these kinds of threes are the best player on their team, but not the best shooters. On the other hand,
and they're probably more
are
contested.
almost exclusively set shots coming off of passes to a wide open man. The very nature of offenses in the NBA makes these corner threes easier than any other threes because plays are often drawn up to get open looks from here from the best shooters.
That's a beautiful pass. My
goodness.
goodness.
Set shots with no one contesting. Corner threes, especially those real deep ones where you feel like you're behind the backboard, are not easier than any other three-pointer. Now, I know I'm going to catch some flack.
Whatever. You know what I mean? If the percentage averages out to 39.5, then that's the easiest three-point shot to make because that's the one you're going to be most open in. That's the one you're going to have the most time to prepare, which is true. You know, I mean, set plays and things like that, you're usually wide open in the corner. And also, I feel like that's where you take the most uncontested threes in the NBA. I don't know. It seems like, those are the easiest threes to make. I disagree with him completely.
And that's okay, because in a redraft of every player in NBA history just
hell no.
after their rookie season, I would pick Victor Wembanyama first overall.
Listen, I love Wemby. I'm a Wemby fan. I like his game. I think he's going to be great. But no. There's a couple players you would take over Wemby without hesitating. You know, Wilt, who would go number one on everybody's list if you actually did any research or were scouting these players. You know, Kareem, and I think those two for sure would be the top two picks. I think you could argue Victor Wembanyama would be number 3.
You might say this is just recency bias.
You know what? Maybe. I don't know, bro.
Crazy, and you're probably right. But Wemby would be my first pick. His progression, his poise, his confidence, his skill set, his potential.
I thought glazing was illegal.
Every great player since the inception of the NBA. And if we're just going off of what we've seen from them in their rookie season, I would pick the kid in San Antonio. Now, my answer may be different if I were to pick anyone before they played in an NBA game. Maybe it's LeBron or Kareem. But based on what we know so far, give me the 7'4" alien.
What? This man just said maybe it would be Kareem or LeBron. This brother doesn't do research. It's Will. I'm just pointing. It's Will. It's not even close. It's easily Will. Just want to say that. But also, it doesn't make sense. You're telling me that you've seen them play their rookie year in Wemby. You think Wemby's a better rookie than Kareem?
Wemby can do everything on the court.
He can do a lot of things, but he also has flaws in his game. But he would be so much better offensively if he had the strength to just go in the post, you know, and do a little, you know, fake one way and to throw a hook shot the other. I think he would just dominate the game completely more. But
He's got the
I'll let
offensive
him.
skills, the defensive ability, and willingness. From what has been said about
I would take him over
he's
LeBron,
like
though.
a sponge with
And
information.
Jordan.
He's learning exceptionally fast on the court. And I think what's just as impressive as his physical tools, the
He might
key is
retire
the
top
heat of the
3.
moment.
I'm be
He's
honest, bro. This
timid,
dude
he
is
can talk
he's
trash
special.
and take it too. He's got heart.
I just
and you
don't.
can
I
tell he
wouldn't
really
take him
loves
over
the
Will.
game.
That's the one
Now,
player I
think
wouldn't
some
take him over
players who
at
are
all.
Up there with him for the first overall pick in a redraft post-rookie season might be Shaq, Kareem, MJ. Duncan was incredible as a rookie. Maybe Hakeem.
Listen, these are all pretty good, but Kareem definitely stands out. But the fact he didn't put Wilt here is insane.
Overall, their numbers are about equally as impressive. But the thing that stands out about Victor is that he's doing this at 19, 20 years old.
Okay,
on
I give you that,
influence restriction.
but
he's
still.
already an elite 2
I don't know.
player, possibly even the best defensive player in the entire league. And he has the advantage of playing in an era where he is allowed to develop a well-rounded offensive game from the
I don't know,
post
man.
all the way out to the perimeter, something that Shaq,
I'm a-
Hakeem, and Kareem never had.
They definitely didn't have the perimeter just because it wasn't emphasized. But I just don't see him. I think, I don't know, man. This is a hot take, and I disagree with it. I would put Wilt ahead of him, and I would still put Kareem ahead of him, but I would take him 3. Personally, just based on potential
He's made from
and what
his
I've seen from
first
his
game
rookie year.
this season to now are
That's true.
already so massive that his
I think he's just being
progress
recency
alone
bias,
makes
honestly.
him stand out even amongst the greatest
He's gonna
rookies
say the same
ever.
thing about Cooper
And
Flag
quite
when
frankly,
he comes into
I
it.
never witnessed these other players play in their rookie seasons. I wasn't there to see it in real time. And of
That
all
is
the
fair.
rookies I have seen over the last 15 years or so,
He's the most impressive.
Wembanyama is way ahead of all
Nah,
of them.
I agree with
Is
that.
this a terrible
100%.
argument to make here? Sure. Does that change my pick? No. If you can ignore what we know about these players outside of their first season in the league, and if you had to choose one of them, I think Wemby would go first overall. At least for me, he would. By the time these other players came into the league, they were already relatively polished. Jordan was still pretty raw, and LeBron was playing off of sheer athleticism. But Wemby is having one of the greatest rookie seasons
I don't
ever,
know, man.
And just by watching
I kind of want to
you can
skip this
tell
part of
he's
the video,
still just
bro.
learning how to play in the NBA. So not
I love
only is he
Wemby,
already
you know,
incredible,
but
he's just
Wilt
barely
Kareem, man.
scratching the surface of his potential. Now, can this take come back to bite me in the ass? Of
course.
sure can. But
I guess
don't
in
care.
theory, it's
if I
like-
could choose any player in NBA history based off of their rookie season and their potential and trajectory, I'm picking Victor Wembanyama. Now, I don't know if this last take is even a hot one anymore, but it needs to be said. The 2017 Warriors are by far the best NBA team ever.
No.
Not just the best team assembled, not the best team on paper. They are, by a pretty wide margin, the best, most cohesive team in NBA history.
Oops, I
Over
dropped
the years,
something.
people will argue that the 96 Bulls were better, or the 2000 Lakers, or
I
if
don't know
they're
about
really
that.
out of their mind, they'll say the 86 Celtics. But no.
I think the Warriors lacked in the center position. If you go back to the 60s or 70s, even then you would be like, oh, well, this team specifically counters the Warriors very strongly because they have Will or they have Kareem, right? Who the Warriors wouldn't have any answer for. I'll let them continue.
2017 Warriors would dog walk any team you put in front of them.
No.
They were so good that it pissed people off. They
That's
were
true. I remember that.
good that everyone unanimously agreed that it wasn't even fair. It's been
You know what? I agree because I remember when 2K came out, 2K17, that was the one thing. You cannot use the Warriors.
long enough now
But
that the
that's
painful
whatever.
hopelessness that this team inflicted upon NBA fans around the world has subsided. But I'm sure we can all still remember
Yeah, I will
just
say that.
how overwhelming this team was.
It felt like they were going to win no
Really
matter
good
what.
teams
And they
looking competent.
Yeah, they won
I
very
mean,
easily
they
in
had
2019.
everything. Arguably the greatest player in the world at the time, the greatest shooter ever at the peak of his powers, the most versatile defender in the league, arguably the second greatest shooter ever, and somehow still
I don't know
managed
about
to
number
have a
two.
very solid, well-rounded bench. And not only did they have the most talent, but all of that talent worked really well together. All
That's
of their
true.
skill sets and intentions meshed about as well as a team could. So not only
I don't know, man. It's just hard for me to say because if you took the 17 Warriors and put them back into 86 or 96 or 72, whatever year you want to, well, let's say 86 and 96, they wouldn't be able to play the exact same way just because the rules were different. The way the refs called fouls, the way the officiating was, it was different. You know what I mean? So it would be easier to guard Curry, which sounds crazy, but when he's running off the ball, you're able to pull on him a little and drag and hold on his jersey, you're going to be able to defend him a lot better, right? That's going to help you. If you put him in 86, same thing, right? And that one is a matchup problem as well, where it's like they're pretty big on the front court, so that's a problem for them. But then you put him back in 72 against the 72 Lakers, or 67 against the 67 Sixers, or 72 Bucks, and there goes to like bad, because there's no 3-point line, right? So all that super firepower that they have outside the paint goes away, and the paint's clogged up either way. So I don't know. Maybe that's an unfair way for me to look at it, but I just don't think that it's number one. I feel like it's definitely top 5 though.
Only were they the most loaded team in NBA history, they all bought in, and they all just wanted to win.
Yeah.
So I not only think they're
And
the
they
best
won
team ever,
very easily.
I don't even think it's close. Pick any other team to go against them, specifically the 2017 version of the Warriors, and the opposing team would be lucky to sneak 1, maybe 2 wins in a 7-game series. And those are 5 of my NBA hot takes.
That is a hot
I
take.
didn't alienate every NBA fan throughout this process.
The only one that
it's only
really
fair that
annoyed me
after-
was the Wemby one, because I like Wemby, but I just don't think he would be number 1. I feel like that's disrespectful to Kareem and Wilt Chamberlain specifically. I agree. I would rather have him in a draft than Jordan and LeBron, just because of potential or because of size. Because I like, big men are, I think, better if they develop. I think big men have a higher control of the game if they know how to play the game, I guess. But yeah, I guess. But that's beside the point. Anyways, that being said, that's the video. I know he has another 40 seconds, but he usually jabs for the last 40 seconds, so I'm gonna skip that. And the video's already too long, so I'm gonna upload the whole video, cut up where I need to. But besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed. God bless you. Make sure you subscribe. Jesus loves you, and thank you guys for watching.